Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me again on another episode of Uniweb Interview Show. I was joined today. I had the privilege, nay, the honor of speaking with Trevor Coelho, author, philanthropist, Canadian, mountaineer fella, goat wrangler, all around 6'7", 400-pound, amazing dude. The guy is fantastic. I had such a good time talking to him. I think you'll love the interview. Check it out in this video that I made myself out of my camera thing. Here you go. Bye. I don't want to miss a thing, even when I close my eyes. What's up, Trevor Coelho? What's up, dude?
Nice to finally meet you in a sense. You know, it's been great talking with you. I'm glad to finally get a chance to sit down and talk to you about it.
Yeah, man, me too. We've had some interactions online through Twitter and then also through like the videos and stuff. You've cracked me up over just a tweet or two or text, man. You're funny. Hopefully you're just as funny in real life.
Wow.
Kind of. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. It comes and goes. Depends on the level of awake that I am at the time.
Yeah, I know, and how cold it is too. You're in Manitoba.
I am. Yeah.
Canada.
Right central Canada. We are right near the edge of the border, kind of thing. Here, we're like a couple hours drive, kind of. And,
yeah.
It's cold. It is.
Is it bad? Is it still really cold?
It's
last time we talked, it was Mars. It was like on the surface of Mars, kind of cold. Is it still miserable?
It's actually good right now. It's not too bad. Like today, we saw sunlight, which was nice. So that was fun.
Yay, that's exciting.
Oh yeah, especially for a guy who works from like 8 in the morning, well, from 7 in the morning is when I leave the house to like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I don't usually leave work, so sometimes I don't see the sun for a couple of weeks.
Do you think there might be there might be vampires or some sort of undead creature living up there? Because that'd be a perfect place for them. I feel like the walkers, obviously from.
A lot of really good myths about that. One of the big one is a Native American myth called Wendigos. They were like wind spirits that would whisper in your ear and convince you to eat other people. And then once you had eaten another person, they would start taking you over, and you'd end up becoming this like grotesque cannibalistic creature. There's actually real Mountie accounts. Like Mounties are the RCMP. That's like our SWAT. They're like the big police here in Canada, kind of thing. And there's actual accounts of them going to First Nations villages where incidences were occurring, and it's written down by magistrates from like the 1800s and whatnot. And they basically talk about like, okay, there are people who we cannot explain what the heck is wrong with them, and we had to.
Is this where Klondike got there? What would you do for a Klondike bar ad campaign? Were these spirits whispering?
If they weren't, they should be. I mean, you could hear that. You'd be sitting there, it's freezing cold, and you just hear this. What would you do for Klondike?
I can imagine. Either Klondike bar or Mentos, right? Like one of those things, and people are going to eat each other. I mean, it's just human nature.
Yeah, when it's like super cold out, you pop a Mentos, you're liable to like burn your throat. It's nasty.
Have you seen any of these zombie creatures where you
are? Yeah,
where? What's that?
Just sitting around, walking around their cell phones, walking around.
That's kind of like me. That's what I do all day long. So where do you work at?
Actually, I'm wearing my work shirt still. I work for a company called Prime. Yeah, we sell power tools.
Oh, nice. And you don't just live in Canada and work for a place that sells power tools, but you're also a writer. Is that correct, Trevor?
I am, yes.
Trevor Coelho, too.
Coelho, yes. Yeah.
Coelho.
Yeah. The
The
first time we
famous,
had that one.
I know, I messed it up completely. And
Hey.
it's weird because it's one of my favorite authors' last names.
Oh yeah, Paulo Coelho. Yeah.
That's your uncle, right?
No, no, no. I'm not actually related to him. There's a lot of Coelhos. He's from Brazil. My family's from Portugal.
Portugal. How the hell did you go from Portugal to Canada? What were you thinking, man?
Uh, yeah, my grandparents came over from Portugal, as well as my mom's family are from the east coast of Canada, from New Brunswick, St. John's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, but why staying in Canada where it's so cold? Do you love it up there? I guess I
Yeah,
can't
I
been.
do like cold. The
You do
cold
like,
agrees with me. Yeah.
yeah. I guess if you like wearing sweats all the time and like a bunch of, which I do. I don't staying bundled up,
I'm
walking around.
wearing two layers right now, man. I got sweatpants underneath my jeans and everything. I'm prepped and ready. I can survive any temperature.
What happens when your skin hits the air out there?
It depends. Today it's actually not too bad. It only went to like minus 12 degrees Celsius, so it wasn't like horribly cold. It's the wind chill that gets you. Like that's where it really gets you because by Saturday this weekend, like it's supposed to be minus 32. Add the wind chill on top of that, and it can get to like 47, which is 40 where you are plus. So it's pretty nasty. Yeah, it can be one of those times where you're like, "Hey, hon, maybe we want to stay home tonight," and then she reminds you very nicely, "We have friends waiting for us." It's like, okay, let's go catch a cab.
A cab. You guys don't ride around snowmobiles and whatnot and zambonis.
I can barely drive a car, man.
Okay,
They don't want me on the road. I tell you that much. It's just
that's
like
fair.
a really big guy. Like you might not be able to tell, but I really am. I'm 6'7". I'm 410 pounds. I'm a big guy, so yeah. So like sitting in a car, the steering wheel's like here, and I'm like hunched all over. It's just not safe.
Well, they have bigger cars, you know. You don't have to get the small. You don't have to get the small one.
Writer, not a lot of money there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. So you're a writer. You're an
Try.
author. That's.
Yeah, written quite a bit.
Let's talk
Work
about it.
major one. Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah. Working on a big project right now, have been for quite a few years, and I'm looking to finally publish it. This particular story is about immortals who actually come from Canada, a lot of them at least. Yeah, the story is intriguing, because the immortals come from all over the world, but it's because of a temperature change that happens here and the time of year that this event occurs on Earth, that the immortals were frozen in time, kind of a thing, and so they are stuck the age they were when
Uh,
this event happened. And the story progressed until a point where I was like, okay, I had all these dozens and dozens of short stories, but I had a few characters that I really liked,
yeah.
and I went further with it, and I kind of came up with this group of 9 immortals who were like the most powerful of the group, and they kind of turned on their one friend, and they ripped his memories away from him and cast him out. Said, "Okay, you messed up. You're out of here."
See you, pal.
They literally just this immortal man out into space, completely without memories of who he was or where he's from.
They shot
And
him into space.
well, they left him on another planet.
Wow, that's not nice.
And yeah, it was kind of like we can't kill you because you're one of the immortals. So how do we deal with you? So they ripped his memories away from him and left him stranded on another planet. And that's where the story starts, is with him basically waking up and kind of being like, this is my life. I don't remember who I am. I've been told who I was, but is that who I am? And he's basically still a really good guy. Like the whole problem with him was that he was always doing things he wasn't supposed to do. He was always stopping these people or trying to help other people, and very often it would mess with what these other immortals were like. Look, you're screwing up the timeline, and he's like, "What does it matter? I'm helping people."
Yeah.
And so he can't stop doing that. That's just a part of his mental state. He likes to help. And so he always ends up sticking his nose in where it's not asked for.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is the events of this story. He kind of accidentally reawakens his memories a little bit, and so some of his power returns to him. And he continues on, basically trying to find out more about how to get his powers back and what it means to be as powerful as he could be.
That's interesting. So, as an immortal, he's got superhuman powers as well, like besides being able to live forever?
Yeah, they're what I call kinetics. So basically, it's psychokinetics. I'm sure you've heard of people with psychokinetic powers. So the ability to manipulate matter. So it's like the four elements. You got your earth, air, fire, and water, but it's actually solids, liquids, gases, and plasmas. And so certain immortals of these immortals can manipulate different attributes of matter different ways. Well, these 9 immortals had the ability to manipulate all states of matter. So they were psychokinetics. They were the top tier. And when you have a person who can literally manipulate the fabric of reality, all of a sudden doing what they want instead of what, a group of them say, hey, maybe we should just kind of leave everything the way it is. And he would constantly stick his nose in. So they decided to step in. The downside is that when you have people who are capable of that much power, there's always going to be someone who wants to manipulate them. And, when they find somebody who can do that, things go awry, right?
This is trippy, man. Honest to God, this is really trippy. I know you've read some of my book, right?
Yep. And I know that's why I find it very amusing. It's because who isn't drawn to power, right? Like that's the whole thing. People with abilities like that is crazy. But when I first started reading your book, I was like, he's gonna love this.
Yeah, man. It sounds amazing, and the whole immortal thing too. Like part of the reason I started writing too was like I have a huge fear of being forgotten when I'm dead, and I don't want to be forgotten. Like I don't want to leave this place and like nobody ever remember that I was here, because then it's like, was I even here? Like and so writing is a way to like almost immortalize yourself, and so is like doing this stuff. It's like uploading consciousness into the atmosphere or whatever. But the whole idea of immortals is so cool. But I mean, is this going to be like a long series, or is this going to be just a single standalone?
The story that I've worked on here for this character, Benjamin, is a standalone. So it's going to be probably like 2 or 3 books, but it's one story. It's not going to be a whole series. But eventually, my thought is to actually start. If people like it, what I want to do is release the short stories that I wrote as kind of like a compilation thing, because the short stories are interesting, but they're a lot harder to follow because they're all following different people from all around the world that are affected by this event that creates the immortals in the first place. She wants my attention. She's very
yeah. That's okay. Sorry, so the cat distracted me.
Cat distracted everyone. Actually, that was one thing that my girlfriend said. She's like, "Well, just at one point just show the cat."
At one point, that was the plan. Did she shove the cat in the room with you?
No, she's actually not here right now. She's at her parents this week. So.
Oh, I got you. Okay, cool. So, trying to get back on track. The immortals, they're affecting the rest of the world. So I was thinking when you were talking about they were actually like frozen in time. Is this something? And we were talking about weather and stuff like that. Was that like? Were you thinking like that it got so cold that it literally froze these people's like essence of time, like the code of time?
It's not far off. In my story, the way it happened is that a weapon that was designed by an alien race that were very similar to elves, basically, like elven people. Um,
Okay.
they were here on our planet long before we were, and what happened was is they just kind of stayed here and stayed hidden for as long as they could. And what ended up happening was is that during Christmas time, so in late December,
Right.
they accidentally kind of set off the weapon basically. And so this thing was designed as like more of a terraforming device. It
Yeah.
wasn't intended to be turned on, but it was because of some shady politicians and a coalition of the not so nice aliens of their race that decided to, hey, you know what, let's turn this weapon on and we're going to take out all of our enemies, you know. And they set off this weapon, and the seed pods, there were these basically just like terraforming devices, launched into the atmosphere, crashed back down onto the planet in a couple of different places. One second.
Uh-huh.
Cat was going after my water glass. But yeah, so they set off the weapon. The idea was that they were being told that this would end all wars. You know, they would come out on top, and no one would ever, you know, be able to stop them. And they instead created some pretty powerful enemies,
Huh.
because what ended up happening is people's DNA is different, right? So I mean, everybody has genetic markers in our system that are carried on from, you know, countless generations.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is that Canada is a pretty diverse place. A lot of places are, but Canada especially sees a lot of diversity. And so our genetics mix, and we see tons and tons of different types of genetic markers. But one genetic marker that pops up is a trait that is pretty important to Canadians. We seem to be able to deal with the cold better.
I would think so, yeah. Like the
Yeah.
Eskimo.
So, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Now, the virus that is part of this terraforming process um, doesn't deal with the cold very well. And
Okay.
so, that time of the year, what ended up happening is this device crash landed here. It opened up. The gas came out to start the terraforming process. And the people who were affected by it, some people were immune to this gas, some people were allergic to the gas and died, and a small portion of people were affected by it in a way that it mutated them instead of the plants around them.
Huh.
And these mutated people gained the ability to use the elements around them, basically to manipulate matter. And in most cases, just one or two. So, I mean, you'd have a person who could suddenly create fire from their hands, or a person who could literally control the water in the air around them and crystallize air. And it was because that as the virus attacked their cells, it was so cold outside that the virus couldn't complete the process and died before it was able to complete killing these people or terraforming these people.
Right.
Um, so a lot of people ended up with these psychokinetic abilities. And they were in turn led by the Nine, who grouped them together and basically tried to, keep everyone together.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world unfortunately fell apart because only people that were in cold enough areas where the temperatures were low enough to kill the virus quickly did people were people able to get away from it. And people who weren't able to get away from this virus either, you know, ended up stuck in a place where they had no power and nothing to go for,
Yeah.
or died and were mutated into plants that continued to spread the plague.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you think of this? Because like, where did this come from? Were you hoping Is there a part of you that's like hoping that it's possible so you can get superpowers?
Everybody loves superpowers, but
Yes.
no, it actually came from a nightmare. I have lucid dreams, so I get very realistic dreams, um, and sometimes they're really cool. And I've been able to sometimes write them down when I wake up from the dreams. And this was one that happened a long time ago. I dreamt about this tower falling out of the sky and opening up like a flower and poisoning everybody, but not
Wow.
poisoning them where they died. They would wake up and their eyes were all glowy and swirling and changing. And as their eyes were changing, I remember looking down at my own hands in this dream, and nothing was happening to my hands like everybody else. All these other people all of a sudden had like blue glows or green or orange, and their auras were glowing around them. But I was normal, but my eyes were bright blue, and I could tell that because my hands were lit up, but from the light from my eyes. And when I woke up, actually woke up into the real world, it's like it's hard to describe. Like I sometimes wake up and have feelings or sensations left over from the dream, and I
Yeah.
remember in the dream drowning to get these powers.
Huh.
And I wrote this whole short story about it, and it just kind of took off. I had all these characters, and I every time I have a dream like that, I try and either work it into one of my different stories. But this one here, I always seem to find the most characters on it.
Dude, that's really freaking cool, man.
Oh yeah, I've had some pretty crazy ones. I have because of that, I have over 160 something different story ideas.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's just from dreams. Like I wake up and I have weird dreams. Um, Small shameless plug: my website is up.
Nice, man. Congratulations. And no, you're allowed to plug whatever you want on here. So what's the website called?
The website is called thevastgate.wordpress.com. And
Awesome.
yeah, I'll throw up a link on here when we're done if you don't mind, because it's
Yeah.
like in our Twitter page. Yeah, so basically, I'm just going to start throwing my story ideas in there. I have three main categories that are from my mind. So it's the Vast Gate is going to be the main storyline, which is following Benjamin. And then there's also going to be my two other ideas, which I have that goes on. One is about reincarnated weapons, so people who were once magical weapons. So,
Okay. Like
you know,
Excalibur.
right, exactly. So, how come nobody sees Excalibur anymore? Right? Whatever happened
This
to
is
the
a dog.
father? So, the whole idea in that storyline was that, well, the weapons were found by Templars, broken, and when they were broken, the magical essence became a person, and they were born as people.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I have another one.
I imagine Excalibur's kind of a prick though. Like I can imagine he'd be like a really stuck up, uptight demon.
Actually, no. In this story, Excalibur and Aegis are a partner pair. So Aegis is the shield that can't be broken.
Yeah.
Excalibur is the sword that can cut through anything, right? And in this storyline, the two of them are actually a pair, or partners, I should say. Excalibur is a woman by the name of Alex, and
Okay.
Aegis is another woman, but I never actually gave her a name because she's just never throws her name in the story. So she's just a crass, very crass Scottish woman, actually. I even
Nice.
talked with a friend of mine who lives overseas, and I was like, okay, well, how would you write a Scottish woman talking? And she was like, well, I guess I could write literally how I would talk in real life. And I was like, please, And she started writing for me, and I'm like, oh my God, that's almost indiscernible. Like, I can't even
Like he's gonna be
you
like,
were saying. And she's like, yeah, that's pretty much how it sounds to some people. And I was like, man, I love Scottish accents. That's fantastic. Let's do this.
it's so
And
hard.
oh, it's so wonderful. So I worked it into my story.
That's all. So it sounds like your characters kind of you let them write themselves pretty much, right?
Pretty much, like I said, I mean, like the storyline for that one, I call them the first Blades of Man, and that one there is quite funny how I write them. I ride the bus a lot. Like I said, I don't drive,
Yeah.
and so literally I will find people that I just like the way they look on the bus, and I write them into a character. I
Trevor,
found,
checking
yeah,
out
literally.
checking out strangers on the bus. How
Oh,
you?
it's fun. Well, sometimes it's even just a person looks at me, like
Yeah,
um, yeah, a person looking at you, and you're just kind of like, and that's a bus thing, It's just like you don't
yeah.
want to actually say hi, but they're staring at you, so it's just like, yeah, I see you're staring at me, you know. And so I've got like 8 characters that I've written up who are just people who I randomly saw on the bus, who just for some reason they just spoke to me in a way that I wrote them into a story.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
When do you find time to write? You work all the time. You also have a video game addiction, and you're always watching all the stupid things I'm doing. When are you? When do you have
I
time
like
to
to
write?
multitask. I usually have because I actually have a big TV that is my computer monitor, but then I
Okay.
also have a smaller monitor off to the side of that, and then I have my tablet. So I'll usually have like a book going on the tablet while I'll be writing, while something's playing on this side and a game paused on the big screen. It's just my brain goes to all kinds of places, so I like to have it occupied. So to occupy myself, I have multiple things going at once.
So, like, when you write, is it like 7 to 8 words at a time, and then break? Like, I can imagine.
It's
I
weird.
try. I try to do the same thing, but it's if I don't 100% focus on what I'm doing, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm not. I guess I'm not smart enough. I don't know what it is. I just can't. There's something. My
You know
brain's not
what?
that way.
Some this right. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, I find that if I have less distractions, I can't focus as well because I
Uh,
need background noise. Like I like the background noises greatly. So I'll have like something playing up, like just a video or something from YouTube playing on the screen while I'm writing, which is great because then I have that distraction. I have the noise that my brain focuses on the sound off to the side, and that frees up my writing mind to be able to just kind of la di da di da, off we go on a magical journey. And then
there you
after a while, I look down and I'm like, 82 pages of drivel. Let's
go.
go with that.
Perfect. Okay, that's awesome. No
And then I
worries.
go and I edit afterwards.
There you go. Yeah, always or have somebody else go back and edit it. Tell you what you did wrong.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure it's. I mean, I'm excited to read some of your stuff because you said so. This book is going to be your first one that you published, but your blog or you're not your blog, but the one on WordPress, your website that's going to have short stories available to read.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
The first one going up, actually, I was going to wait until we posted this. Once this is posted, then I'm going to be putting up a new story from as I said, the First Swords of Man, which
Okay.
is the fantasy one that I write. And
Okay.
that one is about a gentleman by the name of David, who is the reincarnation of a sword called Drinwin, or Dernwin, which is it's a Scottish myth about a sword very much like Excalibur, but was more fiery and could only be drawn by the worthy. Well, yeah, so he basically is he's a cop, and he is now being forced to fight in a competition against other people like himself, and it's all very hush hush secret. So they do this by secret messages, and they deliver a kind of challenge between the combatants. And when they do that, they have to go and meet people or their opponent at a designated area, and they go and they fight, kind of a thing.
Is this anything like the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Lionheart? Are you familiar with this film?
I'm not actually familiar with that. No, I've never even heard of that.
You're not familiar with that film?
No, and I like Jean-Claude Van Damme. I've never heard of that one.
Okay, I'm a huge fan of him. I've watched every one of his movies. You got to watch Lionheart. It's an older movie. Maybe it's not in like by older. I mean, it came out like after Bloodsport and stuff like that. So,
I love movies in general. I have terabytes worth of movies on my computer, so if
dude,
there's something that I don't have, I'll be
sounds like what you're talking about in a way. Not with the mythical like the sword and stuff like that, but the underground fighting and like just check it out. Lionheart, Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's always amazing to watch those films where just kicking the crap out of somebody.
Fighting movies like that, like I've always been really into like the whole martial combat stuff. That's why
Yeah,
like even the people that I have in my story that have like telekinetic powers in my main story, a lot of them don't actually use those powers against others of their kind. You know,
uh,
when you've got two people that can both do something similar, there
yeah,
has to be kind of an equilibrium, right? Like there has to be a middle ground that these people can face off against each other because otherwise they'll just stay in stalemate. So what a
right.
lot of these guys do is they train in hand-to-hand combat or weapons, and so they have swords and axes and things like that that they'll be able to manifest out of the elements and fight together against each other.
Very cool.
Yeah, never been a fan of laser weapons. I don't know why. I'm just lasers just for me always seem like it just seems kind of an odd thing to have a tiny laser gun. I
I
don't know.
could
So
be.
I always like the idea of like ballistic weapons. Makes
Yeah,
sense, you know, especially in space flight and whatnot, because space travel in my stories are very different than in many others. They use wormholes, which is a great way of travel, makes sense, but no faster than light travel in my stories. So they don't actually use faster than light travel. They have larger and larger ships that can move at greater speeds than say a smaller ship, but nothing that's faster than the speed of light.
so how long is this story? It sounds like it's got some pretty intricate detail if you're talking about different size ships and
Well, it's big. My story, like I said, I've been working on that one for a long time. It's been actually 15 years that I've been working on this one.
wow. It's like an Encyclopedia
Oh,
Britannica.
it's yeah. Well, I have like 850 alien races that I've worked on. Yeah, it's well over 75 planets.
You need a
Multiple.
beta reader for this? You have
What's that?
do you need a beta reader for this?
Yeah, I'm always looking for beta readers. Anybody who wants to read my stuff, I'm always psyched for that because it's hard to find people who are like able to read it and give me an honest opinion. Like I want to hear what people think, and I hear from my friends and my family. They're all like, "Oh my god, it's wonderful," and I'm like, "Okay, well, you're my family, so
Yeah.
I expect you to say these things."
You
And
don't
therefore,
say
I've had a really hard time taking people seriously over the years. And so,
yeah.
I've had friends and family who have been like, "You should publish, you should publish," and then I was like, "Yeah, thanks, that's great." But I started seeing recently. Well, it's been 2 years now. My current girlfriend, who I'm madly in love with,
Yeah.
shout out to her, and yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? She constantly makes fun of. I can't do that. Like it doesn't. My thumbs don't work in a way that looks right. I
You
don't
gotta like
know why.
you
She
gotta like
does it
draw.
all the time. I'm like, it just looks like a square to me.
That's a weird looking heart, bro. What's wrong?
Exactly. So I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
I think you're trying
But
too hard. You gotta
she's
leave
really convinced me to go forward with this. She's really been there for me as I've been writing, and I appreciate everything she does for me. And I mean, I've always had encouragement from other people as well, but it's just I don't know. She's really put a spark in my life and a fire under my ass to get myself going and get my work published.
Well, as men, we pretty much spend our entire lives trying to impress women. So if we finally have a girl that's impressed by the work we're doing, it makes it a lot easier to put it out there. We're like, yeah, I'm the greatest. Let's do this. That's the same thing that happened
Exactly.
with me and Sherry, man. Like she's I've told you that too. Like
Yeah, I love watching you guys together. It's so cute. Like I love seeing you guys when you're just sitting there in bed reading a book. Me and my girlfriend have watched you guys so many times, and it's just wonderful to see you guys doing that.
yeah, we haven't been able to do it in a while. I'm hoping to get back to it soon, but she started a new job. I got a new job, so we're gonna try and figure out the whole dynamic. We might just start recording it, but
Yeah.
who knows? Life changes, right?
You know what? There's one thing you can do. What me and my girlfriend do all the time. Uh, we write our stories back and forth. So we
Uh,
do what we call like a role play, basically. But we pick and choose a character from one of our stories or genres,
yeah,
make one, and then we just when we're bored, we sit there and we write a story together. I mean, it's like reading a book together, but you can do it when you're not even together. We do it on
that's
Skype, and then we record it and write it all down.
yeah. But Sherry's a terrible writer, so I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. she's she's a really good writer. She just takes a lot longer than I do.
That's the whole good thing about that. Me and her love doing that. We make our own characters and write up a little story for them, and then we just go back and forth what our characters will be doing.
You know what we've actually talked about doing, and I'm hoping we can make this work. But like, I want to start writing like short films or short episodes, and start actually filming them, and then putting those up as well. Like, I think writing screenplays or like just short little skits, I think would be really cool too, that we could act out together, because she's always wanted to be an actress and I've always wanted to be an actor, and so I figured it'd be fun.
That does sound awesome, and I love the headshots. Those were funny as hell. I like that. I saw that. Like, I saw the first one, I was just like, nice, and then I went to the second one, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm like, it's good, and then the last one, I'm like, right, okay.
Okay, gotcha. Did you see the other ones I put up?
Which one?
Did you see the other ones I put up?
The ice cream one?
Yeah. I spelled popsicle wrong. It's popsicle.
In your defense, then, I didn't even notice you spelt it wrong. I was laughing too hard. I thought it was fantastic. I was like, this is great.
So my mom hits me up and is like, "So you're a male model now and an actor? Like, what's going on?" I was like, "Mom, if you look at this stuff and honestly believe that I'm an actor or a male model with these pictures, then you're an idiot." She just starts laughing. She's like, "Okay, good."
Man, my mom's 5 foot tall. If I called her an idiot, she'd kick my ass. You're lucky you can get away with that stuff.
No, if you see how my personality is, it's like it's because I got it from my mom. She's a goofball, man. Yeah, man. So you write all the time. It sounds like you're writing a ton of stuff.
Yeah. If I'm breathing, I'm writing.
Are you writing right now as we're speaking? What is you're writing on your phone? You're texting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No. It's actually yeah. No, like I said, I'm constantly writing down different things. I don't know if it'll actually. Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't show up. But yeah, no, I was just working on chapter 23 while we've been talking.
Dude, how you? I think you do have like some sort of psychokinetic abilities.
It's right in front of my eyes here. Like, literally, it's just right down here. So it's just a matter of keeping myself calm. I'm terrible at public speaking. The idea of being on video with you, knowing that people will eventually see me talking online in a public, yeah, but still, just nerve-wracking to no belief. Just like ridiculously nerve-wracking for me. So I'm glad it's talking to you is much easier than I thought it was going to be. But just to help focus myself, I've had my phone there just typing away as we talk.
Well, that's okay. I understand that nervous anxiety. You don't seem like somebody who would have any issue talking in front of other people. I mean, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, it comes off that way, but I do get nervous sometimes. Like, I have even a hard time like going to the mall sometimes, and my girlfriend's like, "Hey, let's go to the mall," and I'm like, "Hey," and then we get there, and I'm like, "Okay, it's not so bad. It's not so bad, you know."
Dude, the mall is horrible. I had to go to the mall yesterday with Sherry, and I was walking around Forever 21 by myself while she's like trying on pants, and I'm like trying on these ski goggles. Like taking. It's where I found that picture of that model that I put. Okay, so that picture I posted. The reason I did the model pictures too is because there was that picture in Forever 21 of this model, like this Korean girl or whatever. I don't know, just some girl, real thin, and her face was just. Did you see the picture I'm talking about where she's just?
No, I didn't.
She's just like.
Okay, that picture you took, I see that one. Okay.
Yeah. So well, that was the picture on in the store, like her modeling some of the clothes, and I'm just like, this is all you have to do to be a model? Like, I could be a model.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you're talking about.
She inspired me, man. I was inspired. I was like, I could be a model with that. So something good did come out of the mall. But
Hey, Yeah, it works, and that's the thing. Like you gotta keep yourself occupied some way. So for you, it was imagining yourself as a brand new male model.
That's true. I I did question. I questioned walking though, because like if you had to walk around the mall, I got to a point where I was like, do I really need to get to that point down there that bad? Because I'd really rather just sit here on the floor and not move another step.
Yeah, forget anything else. The floor's fine. I'll
The
just
floor,
right here, you know.
like I work out every day, but I work out like for 45 minutes in the morning, and then the rest of the day is like in front of a computer, which is my happy place, doing this stuff. So like, and I'm a big guy too, so walking around on my feet all day is like not fun.
Yeah, like I
You
said,
went,
that's
you went,
literally what I do. I
you
sell
went
power tools and
on.
make the hail of power tools.
So you're on your feet all day long, walking around the store and stuff.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. So you want to make writing full time thing though, right?
I do actually. Yeah, I would love to be able to write full time. I mean, I'm not, I've always been a humble guy. Like I like just having a small amount of stuff. I've never been attached physically to a lot of things when it comes to like things. They're just stuff. They can be replaced if need be replaced. I've always just been about wanting to just experience things and to write. I've always loved writing and drawing. Being artistic has just been a great thing for me. And to do that as a profession, to just be able to make a living
Yeah.
sharing my stories would be phenomenal. I want people to read my things and be like, "Hey, that was good. When's the next one?"
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear in my life. I want people to be like, "Hey, I just finished reading, book 2. When's book 3?" And I can be like, "You're not getting a book 3. Get the hell out of the house. How did you
Yeah.
get my address? Where have you come from?"
What are you doing in my house? That's right. Yeah, you end book 2 on a horrible cliffhanger, and then you never write book 3. That's the best
That's
way.
some people,
That's how The Sopranos did it, right?
Yeah.
Just end it. That's cool,
Yeah.
man. I had something else I was gonna. Oh yeah, I was talking to a friend the other day. You talk about writing and drawing and that kind of thing. We were talking about just like instead of because when I came to writing, it was like this amazingly freeing process for me that I had never experienced before. And I'm learning that it's not just in writing, but there's so many different creative outlets that we can take advantage of. And drawing is another one, being like artistic in so many ways. YouTube channel, like photoshopping these stupid things, like living a life that is just representative of art, like becoming a piece of art yourself, to where everything you do is based in that state of mind. I mean, is that something I mean, it sounds like that's kind of how you're looking to live your life too.
Completely. I've always been like that. Just in general, art is life. I mean, without art, you can't really enjoy life
Yeah.
because people who go around through their entire life never looking at art, never looking to be creative in any shape, are generally bored. I mean, I've never met anybody who didn't look at a picture or a painting and have some kind of an opinion, even if they didn't like it. That means that your mind looked at it and said there was something about it you liked and or didn't like. And
Right.
it's art speaks to people in different ways. Writing is very much the same way. When we're writing, we're trying to convey an image to a person without showing them something, and to be
Yeah.
able to do it properly, like my heroes, Robert Jordan, Terry Brooks, those guys there, they blew my mind with the things that they could just express
Yeah.
with words, things that fused into your memories. Like I can look at the covers of some of my favorite books and I remember everything that happened from start to finish because they were able to show me. And I feel like those are memories that they're not just the words you read,
Yeah.
but it's you and experience them through the words that they wrote.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. Joe Abercrombie, great one. He
He's
wrote an
fairly new,
amazing. Hmm?
Joe Abercrombie is a fairly new author, isn't he? I mean, he's been out for a few
You
years
know,
now.
He's been out for a few years. I got his book originally at a rummage sale. It was a UK edition that I guess somebody had like ordered on eBay and didn't like. And I read it and I was like, oh my God, how do I get my hands on these books? And at the time, he was nowhere in America. You couldn't buy him at any of the shops here in Canada. You couldn't get it from
Yeah.
the US Amazon. I had to order them from the UK. And yeah, it cost me a fortune to get the rest of the books because I was just like, oh my God, I really want to finish reading this series and had no way of getting it. So I ended up having to order them from overseas just to buy these books. And always glad I did. Now that they're available here in Canada super easily, I just anytime he puts out a new one, I always pick them up.
What was
Um,
the first book you started with them?
um, Actually, my first book that I really enjoyed was Anne McCaffrey, The Dragon Riders of Pern. Great combination of myth and fantasy mixed with sci-fi. Love
Yeah,
that.
I've never heard of it. How long ago was that? I mean, was that something you read when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, that's an old one. That's Anne McCaffrey is um, The Dragon Riders of Pern is quite old. My aunt is actually the one that got me reading that.
Yeah.
I didn't really like reading when I was younger. It was because I read in French and I could read Portuguese, but I wasn't really strong at reading in English. And so they put me into a remedial reading class and were like, you stupid. You can't read. I was
You
like,
can't.
okay, I guess I can't. I guess I'm stupid. And literally over the course of 1 year, I met a guy who was like in an older class. It was like a reader buddy program. Wonderful guy, passed away many years ago. Name was Adam Young. Wonderful gentleman. I missed him dearly. If it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't be a reader because he basically found a book about dinosaurs and was like, okay, it's not that you can't read, you just get bored with reading the junk they're giving you. So let's give you some books you like.
Yeah.
And he mentioned Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders, and I was like, "Oh, Dragon Riders!" And I remembered seeing some of that at my aunt's house, and asked her about it. And she's like, "Yep, here's books 1 through 20." And I was like, "I'm 7 years old, and I've got 1,000-page book in front of me, and I'm like, what do I do with this thing? Like, I could kill someone with this book." It was that heavy a book, and I ended up polishing off like 30 books in a summer. Yeah, I literally went from reading at like a grade 4 level to reading at a grade 12 and university level over the course of a summer, just because they finally gave me something that wasn't crap to read.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. You became a super genius in a month.
Well, no, I just found I actually liked reading good writing. That was the thing. It was just, you give me a junk book that doesn't teach me anything, and then you give me something that's interesting, is intriguing, has, meat to it.
Well, that's what got me to want to pursue writing was that I wanted to write something that inspired other people to read because how powerful it was for me because I always liked the idea of reading, but everything I always read was boring as hell, like you were talking about, until my teacher in eighth grade gave me Harry Potter, and it was like the first time I'd ever read anything that I could connect with, and it was like a sense of like escaping into a whole nother world where I felt like I wasn't alone anymore, and like being able to give somebody else that felt like the coolest thing you could do in the world, to not be separate anymore. And I mean, it sounds like being able to write something that is able to transport a person to another world and experience something like you were talking about, to have real experiences that you don't forget, like all that stuff happened. And I love the quote in J.K. Rowling or in the seventh book of Harry Potter when it's like it was happening in my mind, and Dumbledore's like, well, that doesn't mean it's not real, that kind of thing. It's like if it's happening in your mind, it's definitely real.
Yeah.
And I don't know, reading is obviously just it's a magical thing. And I was in the bookstore earlier, and it's just like being around all these books and all this literature. It's such a magical thing that all these people put so many ideas into and so much time and effort into. It's so sad that I just know that I will not have the time to read every book. And like I'm getting really good at reading 10% of people's books right now because that's about all the time I have.
Yeah, I know. I've got a lot of books that I need to finish myself. I did get yours in the mail, actually. It's sitting on my bookshelf right at the top there.
Good, man. I was worried because it was my first Canadian mail.
No, it totally worked. I hope it didn't cost you too much. I can imagine. I remember just trying to send an envelope to the States when I first tried to submit to Tor Books. That was a nightmare.
Oh, you submitted to Tor?
I tried, yeah. They declined nicely, but I was like, you know what? I'm not giving up. I'm going to try the self-publishing route.
I mean, hey, man, you went for a big fish.
I tried. You know what? They accept so many people per year, kind of a thing. They just, I'm not sure. They just, they said at this time it did not sound like something they'd be interested in. I was like, it's because I use the F word too much.
Oh, is there a lot of effing in
No,
there?
not a lot, but I mean, there's enough in there.
Yeah.
I find that a good vocabulary should always encourage, the use of the curse words. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I think cussing is a vital part. I try not to cuss too much, but it definitely punctuates and lends feeling and emotion
Yeah.
or atmosphere even to a thing.
Yeah, it seems to make your characters more humanized. You can kind of believe a person because when a person has enough, gumption in a story to just be like, F, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, that person meant it. And that's the thing, it makes the character feel more alive because you're like, okay, well, this person curses. I bet you they do all kinds of other things, like go to the washroom. That's believable. You
Yeah.
know, like these people are now people. They're not just characters in a story. It's that guy you saw on the bus. That guy is a person, right?
Right.
What
Yeah.
does he do? He's covered in drywall mud. He's got a paint stick in his hand. His handlebar mustache is braided at the ends. I mean, what is his story? This guy looks like he should be sitting on a Viking throne, not on a bus heading towards the mall.
Yeah.
So you end up making a person, and things like swearing in a book. I totally think, like, I've seen that populate the Twitter pages so often. Where people are like, "Ooh, I don't think my book will get published. I use the F word a lot," and it's just like, well, is that a bad thing? No, I mean, cursing is. We wouldn't curse in general.
Yeah.
There wasn't a reason to.
Right.
It's just like religion and all kinds of other things like that. If that religion wasn't meant to exist, it wouldn't. Right?
Right.
It may not be yours, but it exists. Why? Because those people believe it. That
Yeah.
makes it real. And when people believe in things, you make it real. And things like how we use our words is a great way of putting it. I mean,
I hadn't even thought about it, but there's a good bit of cussing in my book, and I thought, that was lesser than putting in like a lot of either raunchy like sex scenes or putting in like a lot of gruesome fighting and like, dismemberment and stuff like that. Like I feel like cussing, but I feel like those things go over better to publishers than any kind of cuss words, which is strange, right?
it's true. It's very true. Like, I hold nothing back in any of my writing. I mean, I've written all kinds of things, and so when it comes to gratuitous violence or gratuitous sex or bad language, you know what? If you're smart and you read the disclaimers as hey, this book isn't meant for teenagers. This book's
Right.
not meant for kids. Like my book, a teenager should be able to read it because honestly speaking, if you're above an eighth grade or in an eighth grade education level, you should know that cursing in public is probably either going to get you frowned at or smacked, right?
Right.
So, I mean, you don't repeat what you watch on TV. You don't try and ride that bicycle off of a cliff. It's common sense, right? And if we take those things away from people, then they don't know when it's acceptable to do these things. So,
Right.
taking curses out of TV shows, taking sex off of TV, people become desensitized to it. And then, they finally see that and they're like, oh my God, that
Right.
happened. Instead of being like, oh,
It's just that.
that happened.
Yeah.
People overreact because we don't have those things. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, it's just conditioning, right? We've all been conditioned to, and TV now, man, they say all kinds of cuss words.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's basically like every show is softcore porn too. I mean, it's not. It's the envelope has definitely been pushed.
Yeah.
Until I think there's going to be. I mean, the F word's coming next. They've already started. I mean, they've allowed that shit to be said on cable television. So I can only imagine.
Yeah.
We're moving that direction.
PG for your show because nobody wants to be demonetized on YouTube. It's just you get a strike and then the next thing you know you're off.
I know, and apparently there's like an adpocalypse going on too, which it doesn't really affect me. I'm not getting any money for this anyway, so yet.
One day.
One day. I mean, the channel's only been up for 3 weeks now, so I'm thinking about doing another extravaganza.
Ooh.
In the next couple of days. I know, right? Oh.
Hey, I had a lot of fun that night. My girlfriend still talks about it. We
really?
Just
it was fun, man. It was a good time.
Fun, yeah. We had a lot of fun, just chatting it up and talking about whatever.
Yeah, I got to do a better job of planning it out, though. I'm a terrible planner, man. I got to do some things.
You know what? Most writers are. We're like, okay, I have this big, huge white wall. I'm just going to put a couple notes on here. Oh, and it's now papered with Post-it notes.
Yeah, and I think there's a framework to work in creativity. Like they can lend to creativity, but if there is a big blank wall, and I'm just not afraid to throw stuff up against it, I'm not afraid to throw stuff up against it, then good things will come out. Like there was a lot of good stuff that came out of that 3 hour and a half long broadcast.
Yeah.
That was interesting, but like to whittle it down so it's not so so many small spots or blank spots. But yeah, I think that's the part of us as creators that want to just have a big blank canvas so that we can do whatever the heck we want. I mean, that's how I write for sure. I get into the flow and I just let it happen. I love to freestyle, so.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have absolutely no rhythm, so we won't do that for me.
No, I won't make it do that. I made S.W. Hoffman do it with me. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, yeah, I know. I told you know what, and in a better circumstance, I probably would, but my voice is still messed up from last week. I'm still sick. Like it's yeah, at least voice today. No, I'm not sure. It was just a really bad, chest infection. It nailed me hard. I coughed so bad on Tuesday that on Wednesday I couldn't move. Like my girlfriend made me go to a chiropractor because I'd yeah, it was a bad coughing fit.
Dang, bro. I'm glad you're feeling better. That sucks. Being sick is the worst.
Oh, and it's not even the cold that's been the worst. It's been the back. My back being out was horrible because I'm used to being able to move and lift things. Like at work, we get compressors that are like 185-pound compressors. I pick those things up and I just move them into the back of people's trucks and throwing them like potato sacks. For me, that's a normal day. And then right now, I'm not supposed to be lifting anything more than 45 pounds. And one of the guys today asked me, "Hey, can you help me move this generator?" And I'm like,
nope.
Because I'm so worried about re-injuring my back. I'm just like, I feel like gun shy. I'm like, well, that's all I need is just to be like, lift and pop, and Trevor's on the floor again,
Not mess around with that. Is this the first time your back went out?
Yeah, this badly at least. I've had my back go out before with sports stuff, but never like this. Never to a point where I had a hard time moving. Like, it's always been like, oh, I got a twinge in my back. That's been the worst of it. And then all of a sudden to just be like moving where I was like, I'm laying on my back and I shifted to my left just to get a drink of water. And I was like shooting pains all the way up into the back of my neck. And I'm like, hey, hon, could you have water? And she's like, you're going to the chiropractor. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, man, that's the worst. That is the absolute worst when your back is messed up. Dude, I've had a great time talking to you. I want to ask, I feel like I'm going to ask you because I don't want to put words in your mouth. So your legacy, and ask everybody this, like your legacy for writing, when you're gone and your immortals are left, What do you want your immortality to be? I mean, what do you want your legacy to be?
To always try. I say this a lot. It's on my main page now. It never hurts to try unless you're trying to get hurt. I love saying it.
Like that.
You know, it's just a great way to live life. My legacy, if I leave behind anything, is going to be to always try.
Yeah.
But because if you didn't try to be you every day, who else is going to?
Absolutely, man. Amen.
Right?
Amen to that. That's it. Like we have this one opportunity to do it, right?
That's right. And that's the thing, you know what? You shouldn't let fears and worries hold you back from doing things. And I mean, I do it too. I still do it. I wish I could say that I don't. But you know what? I always try to do something different, you know?
Yeah.
Try to be more, try to think differently. And by doing so, you know what? I think I'm happier for it. You know, if I didn't try at least a little bit every day, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, you know. I wouldn't be writing. I wouldn't be, you know, in a good relationship. I wouldn't be hanging out with my family and enjoying being a part of a big family. You know, you don't try, you don't succeed. So it never hurts to try unless you're trying to get hurt. That's there's my legacy.
That's very profound, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you can walk by faith and not by fear, because fear is always going to be there, right? We just got to keep moving forward no matter what. Yeah, and life is so good too, man. Like
It is.
to,
You know,
to
there's lots of bad things. You know, things will happen, things will make us sad, but you know what? In the long run, you know, it's what makes us. You know,
yeah,
there are things like I've had people ask, you know, like what would you go back and change if you could go back and change anything? And I'm like, nothing. I regret nothing because everything that has happened in my life, as bad as some things have happened, there are those things that have been good too. And if I went back and changed something that was bad, that might change something that was good.
yeah,
And then I wouldn't be the me that I am right now. And I like the me that I am right now.
yeah, man.
You know, someone else might not like the me that I am, but you know what I think about that? Well, there's a curse word I wrote down just a little while ago, and they can read that all day.
Yeah, right. And I love the saying that what other people think about me is none of my business.
Right.
Because
That's
it
a
really,
great too.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
No.
Once I started doing things for me, like even if nobody else watched this stuff, if nobody else read my books or read my blog or listened to what I did or any of that stuff, or like looked at the stupid pictures I made or the pictures I took, like if you could have seen me laughing, you would have realized this guy loves doing what he's doing because it lights me up first. And I go after the things that light me up. And if it makes me laugh and lights me up, well then hell, I'm putting it out there because it might do it for somebody else too. I have no idea.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. It's a great way to live life. What'd you say?
Oh, I said I totally agree with you.
Oh, good. You better. No.
I was gonna say, hold on a second. I think I have a little bit of size on you, sir.
Yeah, I think you do too, man.
Yeah, but it's
It's a
okay.
great topic.
I'm secretly a teddy bear. Yeah.
I know.
Literally, I'm actually just a bear in a man suit.
You're the missing link. The Yeti.
Yeah, yeah. People are like walking down the streets in a snowstorm, and it's just like, oh God, what's going on? Is that a Sasquatch? Oh no, it's just Trevor.
Have
Put
you
on
ever
some.
dressed up as Sasquatch?
Uh, no, actually, I've never dressed up as a Sasquatch. The closest thing I would say is I did one time actually dress up as a bear.
Nice. Did you scare the
Yeah.
crap out of some people?
No, it was a costume thing. It was just Halloween. I love Halloween. Love doing costumes. I'm actually probably gonna start posting some of the things because me and the girlfriend make our own costumes. So, but it all depends on if she wants to be in the photo. She's not as wanting to be on the internet as I am.
I got you. Yeah, she just got on there, right?
She is, yeah. You've seen her art, beautiful, wonderful artist. I want her to draw my covers, but she's like, I don't know. What if you don't like it? And I was like, no. Fast Winger. If anybody wants to look up a wonderful artist, just hit that at Fast Winger and you'll find her. She's a phenomenal artist.
Yeah, she's been really sweet. It's funny, you'll see in the book that since you Sherry, she did the part. I think it's like page 125 or something, where there's a page in there that spells out love in galaxies. Like she drew this amazing. It's like all these little planets and stars and galaxies. I got it right here, actually. It's in the book. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, seen that. Yes, I loved that. I thought that was wonderful. It was so detailed too, like super detailed.
I know, dude. Yeah, that's why we put it in there because it's fantastic. She does really good stuff like that. So, got some artsy fartsy girls, man.
Hey, they're the best kind. They're the hardest ones to keep entertained, but when you do, man, makes life wonderful.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Awesome, dude. Hey, great talking to you. Thank you. Really nice to finally Uniweb interview show where all people become one people.
Sounds good. One love, right?
Love. You have a great night. Stay warm, bud.
Yeah, I've got layers on. I'm good.
Did that come up on your side?
Did what?
Do you see that?
I don't see anything.
I'm putting like emojis up. I'm still recording all this too. People are like, what the hell?
I have no idea how to do that even. If it were on my phone, it'd probably be possible, but my tablet's different. It's more set up for just typing.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, man. Be good.
Much. Take it easy, buddy.
You too. See you, man. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you would, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification for the bell. Uniweb, we love you. Love you. Uniweb.